I don't know where to start. The Zephyrus G14 this year has me gripped by my jaw this time. I mean, it's so much better than last year's G14. There are so many improvements, especially in terms of cooling and performance. So let's get right on with it. The G14 retains all the good stuff we saw in the 2021 G14. It still got the super smooth matte finish with the anime matrix, which in fact this time is brighter and supports smoother animations. It's still got a compact portable body that doesn't look bulky and yet packs a lot of power. But they've really redone the G14 in many aspects this year to make it a 2022 laptop. Starting with performance, and this has all the latest 2022 specs. You get the Ryzen 9 6000 series CPU with Radeon's newer GPU. You get 32 gigs of RAM, 1 TB of M2 PCIe Gen 4 SSD, and a MUX Switch. I mean, I was playing Valorant at all maxed out specs, and the frame rate barely ever moved away from the peak refresh rate of the display, which is 120 Hz. And we will talk about the display more in detail later. The gameplay was super smooth, consistent performance, no lag of any sort. And then I moved on to Call of Duty Vanguard. I set it up at high graphic quality, and even that performed really well. The frame rate varied between 90 and 120 FPS, which is still very smooth for lag-free and super smooth gaming performance. And it's not just the specs. There's SmartShift Max technology where the GPU is able to draw 25 watts of additional power on top of the 80 watts TGP of the GPU. And that means a total draw of about 105 watts. That unlocks a whole other level of gaming performance. So if you compare that to like the previous G14 last year, that's a massive difference. And then there's the MUX Switch, which I keep at hybrid mode, and that dynamically shifts the power to the GPU from the CPU, allowing the graphic card to draw more power and deliver a higher GPU performance. Now, if you plan on using this laptop for some video editing work as well, I could easily manage editing a 4K video. Now, it wasn't super smooth or without issues. I did have to drop the real-time playback quality during the editing session to get through. Effects and transitions, if too heavy, did require pre-rendering for smoother playback. But can you do multi-layer 4K video editing? Absolutely. In fact, in my tests, I was using 10-bit 4K footage, which is a lot heavier than the regular 8-bit 4K footage. So if you're going to be using 8-bit 4K footage, this is going to be even smoother. And if you're actually just using 1080p Full HD video content for, video making or short form video content creation, this is going to be a breeze. And of course, stuff like Photoshop or Lightroom or Illustrator, those things are all going to be a breeze on this. But hey, if you want more RAM or more capable GPUs, feel free to explore the G15s this year. There's actually more options over there, so you can get up to 48 GB of RAM. You could get RTX 3080 onto them. So just explore, by spending another $150 to $100, you could get all of that. So just explore. But what about the heat when you do all that fun stuff, right? Surprisingly, even after an hour long of gaming, the heat was acceptable. Although I really can't say that would be the case if you were already sitting in a place that was hot. But if you've got like a comfortable environment around you, this thing is not going to be a problem. There's ample ventilation in and around the laptop, as you can see. And quite honestly, they have redesigned the internals in a way to allow for more heat dissipation and just manage the heat better. There's quite a bit of technology that they've improved upon just to make sure that even being a compact, small size, heat does not really get in the way of that kind of performance. And this time they've also improved dust filtering by adding dust filters for both the fans and redesigned the fans themselves in a way to avoid collection of dust. And in fact, as far as I recall, I did a G15 review last year, and that was hot. I mean, not as cool as this one is, and it's really impressive because it's such a compact size, right? And it's not spitting out any crazy hot air. It's not making any crazy noisy fan sound. So yeah, I'm impressed. Now let's talk about the design. It's very stable. The lid opens up very easily and flexes all the way back by 180 degrees. It features the ergo lift mechanism, so the keyboard tilts up to allow for a comfortable typing experience. The screen bezels on the edges are quite thin, and this time they've introduced a 720p webcam, which also features Windows facial login. In terms of ports, you get two USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C ports, you get two USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A port, you get one microSD card reader, one HDMI port, and one 3.5mm headphone jack. The keyboard is pretty much the same as last year, except now it features an RGB keyboard that has a couple of modes you can switch between, and you could control its color using the Armoury Crate software. In fact, you can make the keyboard color sync with the CPU usage or music you're playing on the laptop too. You've got these hotkeys that are programmable, and of course all the other shortcuts as you'd want them. The keyboard sounds beautiful. This is one of the most pleasing keyboards I've ever typed on, and personally, it's my favorite. Better than many expensive external keyboards as well. They've also increased the trackpad size by 50% over last year's model. It's very smooth and it works amazing. The clicks sound great too. The speakers though are just about decent. They sound good, but they're really not loud. Overall, the Zephyrus series and the G14 in particular are such like an overall well-balanced gaming laptops, like keeping things compact yet delivering ample performance, and this year they've really leveled it up. Now let's touch upon the display real quick. It features the ROG Nebula display, and I've got the 2.8K display refreshing at 120Hz and a 3 millisecond response time. There's actually another variant of G14 that's got a Full HD display with 144Hz refresh rate if you're interested in that. It's an 8-bit color display with 100% DCI P3 color gamut. It's not bad, but it's not OLED. But for a gaming laptop, this is sufficient. And one of the best things is that it's got a 500 nits of peak brightness, so it's a great laptop to just work on while you're sitting outdoors as well. Of course, battery is something that you'd have to be conscious of, and we'll talk about that right after software. Now, before I talk about battery, I just want to touch upon the Armoury Crate software, which I think is absolutely wonderful. It's the software you get loaded to help you monitor system performance, change operation modes, apply aura effects, and anime matrix effects. You can set appropriate display mode depending on what task you're doing on the laptop, and even download more aura wallpapers or those matrix animations from the content platform. And so it's like this one hub where you can monitor and personalize your personal experience with this laptop, and you can also sync it up with your phone, so you don't have to go in to the Armoury Crate software to make all the changes. You could just do it from your phone. Okay, and lastly, the battery. So it's got a capacity of 76 watt hours, but that's just the capacity. What matters is how it's optimized and how well it lasts. So I charged up the laptop to 100%, took it off charging, and then I played Valorant non-stop at 120Hz. It went from 100 to 0 in 1 hour. But when I was just doing research, like a bit of Chrome, Notion, some music in the background, it lasted me almost 5 hours in that productivity mode. And when I left the G14 to play a 4K video on YouTube from 100%, it took about 4.5 hours to go down all the way to 0. And so it's just decent battery at best. It's not too good, it's not too bad, it's okay, nothing crazy. Overall, I love this laptop. The design is really appealing to me. It's not so much of a standout, yet it's a little bit of a head turner. It's really small and compact, yet it packs power enough that I could do my everyday gaming, I could do video content creation, and I could use it for everyday work as well. Just like the overall setup is really nice. And my only gripe, if you really had to ask me, would be the speaker output is just not sufficient and the battery life. But given everything else it offers, it's not as much of a complaint that it breaks the deal for me, It's a really good package and I would recommend it if it falls in your budget. Alright, that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any questions on the Zephyrus G14 this year, ask me in the comment section. Of course, I'll reach out. And I hope you really enjoyed watching the video. And if you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification icon and mark all so you get notified each time I put up a video. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.